Guys, welcome back. It is Racer X, and today I'm actually at AutoNation, Dodge, Jeep, Chrysler, Ram. That is on the north side of Fort Worth, Texas, actually North Richland Hills. And I have four pretty cool cars to show you. And today I want to talk about the different trim levels in either the Charger or the Challenger. It kind of works for either one. And I get a lot of questions. Racer X, what trim should I buy? Should I buy an SXT or should I buy a GT? Should I buy a Scat Pack or an RT, a Hellcat, whatever it may be? I'm going to talk a little bit about the different trim levels and then give you my advice based on a number of factors on maybe what I think would be the right trim for you. Also, guys, if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe. You can find that down there in the corner, or hit the notification bell for more great content. Also, follow me on Instagram at excessive_Hellcat, and we are off. We got the 1,000 horsepower Hellcat. As you can see, I do have quite the lineup here. I've got a Challenger SXT. I actually have a Charger RT with the 5.7 liter V8 Hemi. Then you move over to the Challenger Scat Pack. This, of course, is a very powerful vehicle, 485 horsepower. And then, of course, we've got the Charger Hellcat. That, of course, is my personal car. But it's great to see all four of these trims kind of right here next to each other. So let's talk a little bit about these trims, and I will tell you a little more about what my thoughts are on kind of who should buy what. Now, I don't want to go over a ton of the specs on these cars, but I do feel like we need to talk a little bit about what you get with each one of these packages. Obviously, right here, we do have the Challenger SXT. This is the vehicle that comes with the V6 Pentastar, 305 horsepower, which is actually plenty for your average driver, and it is a nicely equipped vehicle. Now, things change a little bit when we step up to, of course, this is a Charger version here. They do make the Challenger in this as well, but this is the 5.7 liter V8 in the RT. This one actually makes like 375 horsepower and over 400 pound-feet of torque. So quite a bit of a jump in terms of torque when you jump up to the RT. And of course, the base price on this one is right around $35,000, and you can option those up from there. The base price on the SXT is actually right around $28,000. So you can see there is a price jump when you jump to the RT. And of course, as we jump to the Scat Pack, we're looking at a $40,000 base price. This, of course, is a Challenger version, and but a big naturally aspirated V8, 6.4 liter V8, 485 horse, 475 pound-feet of torque. And of course, this one you can actually get with a wide body on it, and the same with the Hellcat. That is a $6,000 option. So as we jump up to the Hellcat, obviously this is a Charger Hellcat. That is my Hellcat, and this is not one of the newest ones, but I figured we might as well put it in there. Of course, you get 717 horsepower on the Challenger version of this for 2020, and this one actually stickers at just over $60,000, but it's absolutely a ton of power for that amount of money. So just a little bit on the trims before we talk about what trim is right for you. First up, I want to talk about some of the high points of the SXT Charger or Challenger. Yes, it does have the base model engine. It's that V6, but at the end of the day, if you are just, the average driver, you don't take your car to the racetrack, you want something that rides really nice, the SXT is fantastic. It is actually the least expensive trim in terms of running it, in terms of insurance, in terms of gas. You can put just regular octane in this vehicle. It won't hurt it. Like I said, it's not a race car, but in terms of if you want something that just looks good to get you from point A to point B, that rides comfortably, that's functional, the SXT is a fantastic option. Also, if you're kind of new to the sports car game or the muscle car game, however you want to classify it, the SXT is actually a fantastic start. And if you jump to a GT, the GT actually looks a lot like its big brother in the RT. It just has the smaller power plant. And as I mentioned, guys, there are lots of different ways to trim these vehicles out. But that is kind of my take on the SXT. A great vehicle, great for starters, great for point A to point B. And for the average person, it has more than enough power to have fun. Now, as we jump up to the RT, I really do like the RT trim. I realize in this day and age, I mean, horsepower just keeps going up and up and up, and this is the smaller of the two V8 offerings. But if you're somebody that's just kind of getting into the sports or muscle car game, and you want something that has kind of a nice V8 grumble that still has some performance, but also has some fantastic road manners, guess what? The RT is actually a fantastic choice because you can actually put just like regular fuel in the car. I kind of recommend maybe like an 89 octane or 91 even works great on this, but you don't have to put 93 in it because of the compression ratio. So this is actually less expensive to run than its bigger brother, the Scat, which we'll talk about here in a minute, but it's more expensive to run than the SXT. But if you want that V8 power, something that will still shred the tires from a stoplight, something that sounds good with an exhaust system on it, something that's got some pretty cool bells and whistles and looks nice, as you can see, it really doesn't look that different from a Hellcat. The RT is a pretty solid option, and it hits a really nice sweet spot at 375 horsepower, because when you go to take off in the RT, yes, it can spin the tires, but it's just enough power to where it kind of sticks. And believe it or not, when you run these two 0 to 60, it's actually hard. It's hard to run a lot faster in the Scat Pack than it is in the RT. And of course, as we know, the RT is not as fast on the big end, but at the end of the day, the RT is a nice performing vehicle. So only good things to say about the Dodge Charger or Challenger RT. All right, so next up is the Scat Pack. Now, this is one of my favorite trims. I really love the Scat Pack. Obviously, Mrs. X owns a Scat Pack, and that is for a reason. That big torquey V8 under the hood of that thing is an absolute blast. It is such a fun car to drive. If you're new to the scene, I'm just gonna be honest with you, the Scat Pack is so torquey that it takes some getting used to. Off the line, the Scat Pack has an absolute ton of punch. I almost feel like just from initial tip in, it actually has maybe a little more punch than even a Hellcat does. And some of the Hellcat guys out there go, no, there's no way, because the Hellcat makes more power. Just go drive the two and you will see what I'm talking about. But the Scat Pack really isn't for the faint of heart. I mean, you're talking about a vehicle that is approaching 500 horsepower. It looks fantastic. As you can see, this one actually has the functional, the hood vents there for heat extraction. And I mean, just what a punchy V8, what a fun car to drive. Of course, this one you can get with the wide body kit on it, as I mentioned. And also, this car makes a fantastic daily driver car. There are a couple of reasons for that. It is naturally aspirated. It's a dependable engine. The 6.4 is just, it's a great engine. I can't say enough about it. It will not be the fastest thing in the world. Will you outrun a Mustang GT, a 2019 or a 2020 on the highway? Probably not. But in the 8th mile, this thing is very formidable. And, like I said, it may be too much for some people because it does have a lot of torque, especially when you put it in track mode. And when you compare it to the RT, the driving experience is just different. It is a just much torquier car to drive. I don't know how else to explain it, but it is a lot of fun. And really, both the RT and the Scat Pack make fantastic daily drivers. It's just the Scat Pack is a little bit more expensive to operate. You have to put the highest quality fuel in it that you can get, so typically 93 is ideal. It's a little more expensive on the insurance, and it goes through fuel a little faster, things like that. So you just have to be prepared for that when you jump from an RT to a Scat Pack. But both of them, great trims. So here is actually a really good example of a wide body Scat Pack, and you can see what that $6,000 option actually looks like. It's quite sharp. I actually am a big fan of the wide body. Of course, looks a lot like a demon, if you will. But anyway, that option is out there, so you can get it in either the regular or the wide body, depending upon what your budget is. I do want to just take a quick second and thank my buddies here at AutoNation Dodge, Jeep, Chrysler, Ram on the north side of Fort Worth, because all these cars are for sale, and they're always great about letting me come and review these cars. So big shout out to them. Lastly, we're going to talk about the Hellcat. And the Hellcat, how do you talk about the Hellcat? The Hellcat is just a nutty car. I mean, it makes so much power. If you've never driven a Hellcat, the power will almost freak you out if you're not used to it. Now, for somebody like me who's driven sports cars for a long time, the Hellcat is right in the sweet spot. But for your average person, the Hellcat, it just might be too much power. You do get used to it after you drive it a while, and it's great because you can select your drive modes. You can keep it in street, 500 horsepower. My wife actually enjoys driving the Hellcat as well, but she's used to driving a powerful car. But the Hellcat is not really for a beginner. I'm just going to put that out there. It's the kind of car that can get away from you in a hurry. 707 on the Charger. Now we're moving up to 717 in the Challenger, and I think we're going to see 717. Now we're moving to the Red Eye as well. So I got to mention that the Red Eye is almost 800 horsepower. But I'm just going to kind of put the Hellcat out there in just one big sort of ball of wax and say that unless you're a true enthusiast, you really like to go to the track, that you want all the power in the world, the Hellcat, that's what it is. I mean, it's just such a powerful, iconic car, but if you're not used to the power, it can easily get away from you. So, when you talk about the Hellcat and the Scat Pack, yes, you can get both of these two in the wide body. As a matter of fact, you can't even buy a Charger Hellcat now that doesn't have the wide body kit on it. And of course, it's a $6,000 option when you jump over to the Challenger in either the Scat Pack or the Hellcat, but it does give it a really nice presence. Of course, you do get the bigger brakes, you get the wider wheels, the dynamic drive modes, and a lot of the good stuff that you would really want on these cars. But if you're a track person, these are really the two cars that I would recommend. So if you like to track your car, you like going to the drag strip, you're looking for something that is fast and bad to the bone, the Scat Pack and the Hellcat are where it is at. If you're looking for a fantastic daily, you don't do a lot of track racing, but you want something that sounds good, has a big burly V8, you're a little more limited on budget, the RT is awesome. And like I said, it does come, this one you can't get a wide body, but you do get both the Charger and the Challenger, and it really doesn't look that different from a Hellcat when you scan across. I mean, they actually look very similar. So you get a lot of the really, really cool stuff that you would find in some of the upper trims. You just don't pay quite as much. And of course, the SXT, this is the one they sell the most of. And I have to mention this because you would not have your literally your Scat Packs and your Hellcats and all that kind of stuff if you didn't have the SXT, because this is the moneymaker for Dodge. This is the trim they sell the most of. And there's a big reason. It's not just affordability. Most people aren't people who go to the track. And at the end of the day, this vehicle really does get the job done. It's practical, but it still looks good. And the ride on these cars is actually fantastic. I know I've mentioned it in the past, but the ride on an SXT is probably the best in terms of if you had to live with it every day of all of these trims. So I do want to mention that the SXT is an economical, good-looking car that works for just about everybody. Well, and that about sums up these four trims: the SXT, the RT, the Scat Pack, and of course the Bad Daddy Hellcat. So I'm just trying to kind of spread a little bit of knowledge about what trim is right for you, and really only you know that. You know your driving habits, you know your budget, and I always kind of mention this, but never go with more car than you can comfortably afford. Like I said, I don't want to sound too preachy, guys, but at the end of the day, by the time you tack on insurance and maintenance and all the other things that come with these cars, they can get pretty darn expensive. I have a lot of money wrapped up in my Scat Pack and my Hellcat, so you've got to take that into consideration, and also take your driving skill into consideration. If you're a novice, maybe a Hellcat or a Scat Pack isn't the best one for you. Really, you have to be the judge of that, but I do recommend that you, at some point, you drive the different trims to see how different they really are, because Dodge did a great job engineering all of them. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully, it's just spreading a little bit of knowledge and you guys benefit from it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I appreciate you sticking in there with me. I will catch you on the next one. So until then, Racer X.